T.I., the king, how are you?
What's going on?
Man, I really appreciate you taking the time to call in. T.I., this is so important. Seeing the video for Warzone is so incredible. When I saw it, I honestly teared up because with everything that's going on and obviously police brutality being a serious issue that needs to be confronted and dealt with. And I just love everything about the video. Now, whose idea was it?
It was a collaboration amongst the Brain Trust, the Hustle Gang, and Lowe, the director. And we knew we wanted it to be graphic, but within the truth.
Right.
We came up with a few different ideas. I believe the reenactments were something that we all agreed upon then. You know, the role reversal was something else that we just put into the circle of ideas, and I think everybody just built upon it step by step. From there, we were still coming up with different ideas on set, so Lowe deserves the credit for directing. I mean, he definitely pulled it together.
Now, just in case for people who have not seen the video yet for Warzone, it's amazing. It's depicting the murders of Eric Garner, Philando Castile, Tamir Rice, with white victims and black cops, to just basically show how this situation would be if it was turned around. Why is this so important to you, Tip?
Well, I think that right now we are being targeted. I think we're being made to believe that our lives are not as valuable as those with different colored skin. And nothing could be further from the truth. The color of one's skin does not have anything to do with the quality of their character, their ability to provide or anything substantial to society. And people going on for so long trying to make everyone believe that if you aren't a certain color, then you aren't as worthy. Your life isn't as worthy as someone else who is of a different color, and nothing could be further from the truth.
And T.I., you've been always vocal about, politics. I read something up about how you were describing white supremacy and how it still exists, even though we might not see it blatantly nowadays. Like, I don't think people understand, how deep this is. How do you explain this to young folks who are saying, hey, look, we're not seeing it blatant in our face. Racism does not exist. How do you respond to that?
Well, at the end of the video Warzone, you'll see a quote that says, the new racism is to assume or to make one believe that racism doesn't exist. And I think that is ever present in society today. The brothers who are saying that they don't think racism exists and that they think that America's past racism, I don't blame them for that, because it was designed for them to see that. It's designed for them to think or believe that. So if they aren't making an attempt to scratch beneath the surface and do outside research, and if they aren't as tuned in or plugged in to current events, or if they too privileged, having too much money, too busy doing what they're doing, or too high, or just too preoccupied to see what's going on, they won't see it. Because it's designed for them not to, so they'll stay content and complacent in their luxurious lives, and they won't feel the need to do anything about it. So I don't blame them, you know what I mean? I think you just have to make them aware of the fact that, that's not true, man. It's ever present. Just look at this, check this out, look at this case. And once it's been presented to them, what they choose to do about it from that point, I think, is what's most important.
Absolutely. What are your thoughts, Tip, on, obviously everyone has a different opinion on Colin Kaepernick. Obviously, I support him, being that he's my man, and I'm very proud of him. What did you initially think when this all happened and him taking his beliefs seriously and protesting the social injustices in our country by kneeling during the national anthem? How did you first react to this, or how do you deal with the critics who do support him?
I completely wholeheartedly support anything that anybody's doing to speak out and use their platform to combat or oppose these travesties, these atrocities that are plaguing our community. So I completely 100% support Kaepernick, and I don't in any way see in any shape, form, or fashion how it can be deemed or it can even be presented as a disrespect to America. The right to protest is a constitutional right. So unless you're saying that the Constitution counts for you guys who believe that he shouldn't do it, but doesn't count for us who believe he should, I think if you can pass that, then you'll have an argument. But as long as the Constitution is for one and all, then I think that he has a right. And also, soldiers take a knee during the national anthem to pay respects to the casualties of war, the soldiers that have given their lives out on the battlefield. And I do believe that right now in America, as it stands, our battlefield is in our communities. And he's treating Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, most recently Terrence Crutcher. You know, he's treating them as soldiers who have lost their lives on the battlefield. Not to foreigners, though, to people who protect and serve. So I don't think that that should be taken as disrespect, because it's not disrespectful when the soldiers do it, their own. So why is it disrespectful when we feel the need to pay respect to ours that have fallen victim to atrocities and to senseless violence in our communities, we're now seen as a battlefield? I don't see how that can be taken. Unless you have a blatant disrespect for the lives lost, then you shouldn't take it as disrespect.
Absolutely. Talk that talk, Tip. All right, so what did you think about the news for Officer Shelby, who was the officer who killed Terrence Crutcher? In case you have not heard, unarmed black man whose car broke down, hands in the air, was murdered senselessly in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that she just got charged with first-degree manslaughter.
I will say, first of all, just as I'm speaking as someone having constitutional rights, she also has constitutional rights. So it's not for me to be up in arms about what the charges are. We have to let the process of the judicial system take its course before we form an opinion. But I will say it's better than nothing. I mean, I don't think it's fair to be critical prematurely. We have to let it play all the way out before we publicly state an opinion.
I think that's just such great insight in how to handle that when we're hearing the news. I know that you posted something on Instagram, you know, about Don King and Donald Trump.
Man, please.
Just go read Tip's post. That's all that you gotta read that. That's it. I really appreciate you, T.I., taking the time to talk to us. I also know it's been a heavy week with Shawty Lowe's passing, and it just, life's too short, man. It really is too short.
Of course, my heart and prayers go out to the family. You know, he's a true A-Town, West Side veteran, Bankhead legend. We're going to continue to push on for him. You know, I'm just happy that we were able to, you know, grow past our differences and mature to the point where, you know, we can have a laugh about it later on in life. And, you know, that's what it's all about. You know, you can have discrepancies or differences with people. But, you know, after analyzing the circumstances and really seeing it, man, it ain't really that deep. Right. You know, you can move forward, man, and realize that we're all fathers, have families. We all have greater purposes in life than to go against each other, regardless of what color we are and what our differences may be. You know, the one thing we all have in common is we are human beings, and we got to share this earth. You know, we got to share this space on this earth, whether we like it or not.
I really, really, again, appreciate you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Warzone, the video's been out. Everybody's been talking about it. Your EP on Tidal. You just really don't stop. You know what I'm saying, T.I.? You've done it all, but you still keep giving us good music. And again, the social awareness is needed, and it's really, really appreciated. Of course, and always and forever, we need you, Tip.
It's my pleasure. We all need to take some time out, man, and be entertained as well as educated and enlightened and inspired to do so. All I wanted to do was just strike a match that'll create some healthy dialogue on the subject.
And you did just that. And T.I., I'm excited. Anything else you want everybody to know about your EP?
Well, you can expect to hear my opinion and the opinion of others. I think, you know, because I'm not really known as a guy who's socially conscious within his music. So I think that kind of shows you how much of a dire need there is for everyone to pay close attention to what's going on around us, because it is imperative for us to come together and figure out what changes can and need to be made in order for us to institute some form of change in society, man, so our children can grow up in a better place.